Hey guys, welcome back to the channel, and I can't believe it, the ban list is here. And this has been probably one of the craziest days ever. And I will say, as much as it's been a crazy day, it has also been probably the craziest fail ever. So I have been trying to avoid spoilers all day simply because all I want to do is I love how I also just can't apparently do this video without needing to move this camera. But all I've been wanted to do was give you guys a full live reaction, and I'm gonna be completely honest with you guys. This is the third time recording this video. um, I at this point um I can't even fake it. The first time was a live reaction. The second time was I did not like the way that the video audio came out, and I wanted the audio to sound better. I then didn't really like the way that the audio sounded after thinking that the audio sounded better, and um, I then took a lot more extensive time to actually fix the audio because I think this is the first time I'm um actually recording myself reacting to a video. And I will say I used to do stuff like this years ago, but it was on my old laptop, and I used to have headphones with like a microphone, and I my laptop used to have a USB-C USB port. My new laptop only has USB-C ports, so I don't have the ability to do that, and this microphone sounds like garbage. So first attempt. The second attempt, which is the microphone you're hearing now, but the audio from the video was kind of garbage. And at this point, I all the spoilers that I've been trying to avoid the whole time to give you a proper live reaction for uh this ban list is honestly at this point I can't even spoil it for you. Um, I this is now going to be the third time I've watched this video, but what I can say is, and I learned, I brought a bottle of water with me. Since this has now been 3 hours recording this, I'm not even lying. This is now 3 hours recording this video. Oh god, but it's fine. I want to at least make sure that the video is good, not that it's meh. So I wanted to make sure that the video is good for you guys. So let's just hop right in because I'll be completely real with you. When I was at work, I was trying to just slap my watch, being like, I'd see Discord notification, nope. Nope. And the camp counselors that I work with were like, "Yo, Pete, you okay?" It's like, "Nope. Notifications keep coming in. Need to stop it." But legitimately, I think just I did a good job with actually stopping the spoilers. I did a poor job um actually properly getting myself set up for this reaction, and I promise, going forward, at least recording a reaction videos, I'll be, I'll be prepared for next time, and maybe I will hopefully soon be able to get a proper microphone, or at least a headset with a USB-C port, or something else. But let's head right into the video.
We're
And I
sending
also
Like a
updated
Void, Champion of Artemis, to
my
Tartarus.
layout too.
Sort of. It's time to announce the mid-season ban and restricted list update for Elestrals TCG. This list will be effective on July 29th when Elestrals Clash goes into early access on Steam. If you have not
Okay.
wishlisted Elestrals Clash,
Because
you
that's
definitely
that's
should
the
do
one thing
so.
I was
And
kind of
get excited as
confused on,
players
was
around
I
the world
actually
will have
thought
an opportunity to
that
play
this list
Elestrals for
went
free from the comfort
live
of their home. And
um
every card is free. It's going to be incredible.
was going to
We've got
be
this awesome list here to
announced
shake up the metagame just in
uh
time for that. And this new ban and limited list will be
next week.
active for the August 2nd premiere event, as well as the duration and remainder of the Firestorm metagame. After extensive testing from our ban team and taking in feedback from the top players in the game, we've ultimately made some decisions to limit a handful of cards in the metagame to create a more diverse play experience, reduce fatigue from certain strategies, and ultimately make Elestrals better for it. It's worth noting that any card that is added to a limited or ban list may come off of it in the future, as we are always testing different strategies and ideas to create the best play experience at the highest levels of competitive play for all players. The first card that we are limiting to 1 copy, effective July 29th, is Hurricane. Hurricane was originally introduced to the game to help quell some of the challenges of players setting multiple back row and other players having to fight through that back row to ultimately gain any sort of an advantage in the clash. While this certainly does do what it intends to do, it also creates non-interaction points where players don't have any opportunity to make any moves and stop their opponent, which is a huge part of what Elestrals actually is. Hurricane is one of those cards that's fun to use when you're the one using it, but it feels terrible when you get blown back and your entire rune row is destroyed, and then your opponent sets up some crazy combo and you have no opportunities to interact. By putting Hurricane as a power card to 1 copy will require players to make some more difficult decisions when managing their spirit deck of whether or not they want to include the spirits to justify 1 Hurricane. We're gonna
So I want to um kind of put my 2 cents to that, because even though I'm not a super like competitive player, I do think as a sort of just I'm able to observe the meta, and I know how like just deck building as a whole kind of, the thought process kind of goes behind it. And looking at a good amount of like meta decks and stuff, you are naturally playing thunder, you're naturally playing water. So I think just in general, a good amount of meta decks are already playing those elements to begin with. Unless you're a deck that just kind of locks yourself out of those elements, I think you can kind of squeeze in 1 wind to throw around 1 hurricane. Um, However, I will say I agree with this 100%. A a format that is completely uninteractable, or a card that is completely uninteractable, is never fun to play in. Um, and this is coming from just like many, many years of playing card games. So I've played multiple different card games spanning like Yu-Gi-Oh, Magic, uh, Vanguard, Buddy Fight, Grand Archive. Just I played the gambit. And in my many, many years of playing card games, the one thing that always is that like trope of players not having fun, that like same similar commonality, is when you make a format that has players just not being able to interact. The last game I played competitively, like actually competitively, was Grand Archive. And the last meta I played in was one where the meta was really, really uninteractable. The decks themselves, just, you could not interact with them. They interacted with you because that's what they were built to do. But unless you were playing that type of deck, you didn't have interaction with that. And even so, you yourself did not have any interaction with the type of, damage they were dealing, and the type of interactions that they were trying to interact with. So, because of that, you were you were taking like 6, 7 points of damage in a turn that you were unable to even do anything about. And you're like, well, I can't do anything. I can't stop that. And that was like turn 2. You don't have the resources to stop that. And your opponent's literally built a deck all around that. And you can't interact with it. You can't stop it. And that was the whole meta. It was not fun. And I quit shortly after that, because it just, that that was all. Um, or it was turn 1, you don't do anything, your opponent goes, draws card, slaps you for half your health. You go, you hope to God that they didn't draw the card they need, uh, and if you didn't put out a blocker or level up, guess what? They hit you for the rest of your health. Because the card that they hit you with last time is a four of, and it was also uninteractable. So the point that I'm trying to make is cards like Hurricane, where the only real means of interaction in Elestrals is Divine Blessing, a card that not many people play at all, or you play the cards in which you set, which 9 times out of 10, if not 10 times out of 10, are not cards that are applicable to being played at the time of you playing Hurricane, meaning Hurricane equal to strong. And I think it's just something that definitely needed to get hit or get limited, and I think this is something that is definitely going to take a blow to the consistency, though I feel like the decks that were already running Hurricane, it doesn't really hurt them all that much. I think it'll hurt the consistency, but not to the point where the consistency matters all that much. Unless they were running 3 Hurricane, in which case I'm shocked they were running 3 Hurricane. Let's let's continue.
To develop more face down removal for the game that doesn't quite have this same effect as Hurricane where it blows up the entire field, but rather can be used a little bit more strategically, like a Thunderstorm or like a Blizzard.
I will say though, like
part of this decision to limit
as
Hurricane
someone who's
takes into consideration some of the cards coming in Divine Champions livestream and some strategy.
I will say, like, as someone who is not a competitive player for Elestrals, or I mean, I've never been like a competitive player just in general. I do play competitively with like unconventional or like off meta strategies, just because, in my opinion, I feel like it's more fun, and that kind of always feels better for me. It always feels more rewarding when I do well, though it always is more frustrating when I sit there and I play against 5 cookie cutter meta strategies and lose. But it always is. I always am more susceptible to stuff like Hurricane, so seeing that get limited does definitely make me feel a little better because decks that I play normally lose a lot harder to cards like Hurricane.
That may kind of conflict with what Hurricane is trying to do. Cards like Thunderstorm are going to see a lot more play, and because of that, players are going to need to be able to account for that by setting multiple back row. In a world where Thunderstorm is one of the top tier cards in the game, and Hurricane is at 3 copies, I think we're going to create a very bad player.
So I'm not sure if uh, I'm fully able to talk about this, but a lot of stuff this past weekend at Cards HQ at like that event did get leaked. I don't know if it was the full like if it was because of Cards HQ like that event, but a lot of cards from that event for live stream did end up getting leaked. I think it was like a good like 10 cards from the set. Um and one of them does pertain very closely. I'm not going to say anything else, um, just in case I'm, because I don't want to get in trouble. You know, I am a very small channel, very insignificant channel. I have 50 something subscribers. Uh, I hold no ties with anything, but at the same time, I don't want to, you know, I don't want to get anyone in trouble if the leaks uh, wherever wherever they are uh, get people in trouble. I don't know where these leaks come from. I just know that I saw them circling around. I don't go looking for them. I don't really care for leaks all that much. But if I'll ask if I am able to cover some of the things that did get revealed at Cards HQ and things that did get revealed via leaks. Um, if I am, and if that's something that you guys want to get for me to cover, I'm definitely more than happy to cover them because I think some of those things that got revealed are really, really interesting, and that does go with what Dan just said right there. So Thunderstorm is going to be very scary off of just knowing what I know from what got leaked.
Experience for many players and result in many non-interactive games. Hurricane is a card that we're going to continue to test and monitor, but I feel very optimistic with it at 1 copy. The next card we are limiting to 1 copy is Kinleo. Kinleo has
That
long
is good.
been one of the strongest Nexus
I
Elestral
say this
users
as if
in the
this isn't
game,
the
being
third
able
time
to
I'm recording
destroy
this
an
video,
Elestral
but
on the
like
field regardless
legitimately,
of their
this is good.
enchantment cost simply by Nexusing. Its full potential hasn't been met
This is
up
this is a
until
good
Hephaestus
hit.
and the artifact support came in Firestorm, allowing it to unleash its full power and become one of the most dominant decks in the metagame. I've heard this saying many times that it's the second Kinleo that gets you, and Firecasters will have plenty of tools to access their 1 copy of Kinleo through cards like Smoltuga and Stoke the Forge to minimize the impact of this hit, but
Hey, Smotuga. Um, yeah, so I agree with that hit 100%. Um, Kinleo, I always felt it was very strange that Equilinx got hit to 1, but Kinleo never did. And it always just felt very annoying every time I was trying to build fire. I was never a full like fire caster, though I somehow just slowly drifted to fire decks. I love playing bears, and bears sadly is primarily a fire deck, but um because of that, it just was like anytime I ended up trying to build a fire strategy, especially for the BFB, um, whenever I upload that deck list, I'm needing to make the thumbnail for that. I think I'll make that later tonight. But yeah, no, the getting any form of like fire support, everyone's always like 2, 3 Kinleo, and it was like constant, 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 like just 3 Kinleo, 3 Kinleo, 3 Kinleo, 3 Kinleo. It's like why? And you know, with the Hephaestus stuff, it's like because it's free. It's literally free. And it always is like, well, what if I want to play Hestia? Don't play Hestia, play Hephaestus. Hephaestus better. You know, Kinleo, Hephaestus, everything is better. You know, it always feels rough. So I'm very happy to see Kinleo go to 1. I think it's such a necessity to limit this because uh, it is definitely tough to deal with 1 Kinleo if you're not equipped to deal with the Kinleo. But even if you are equipped to deal with 1 Kinleo, sometimes like Dan just said, it's not the first Kinleo that you need to worry about. It's the second Kinleo that you have to worry about. And yeah, there are a lot of ways that fire can actually get to Kinleo too. So you're not really all that worried.
other
And with
players
like
to
Ash
focus their
Rabbit too,
counters
it's
onto
not
dealing
like
with this
it's a
powerful
dead
threat
card
and
once it's
ensuring that,
gone.
generally
It's just
speaking, they
now
won't
your
have to deal with
opponent
it
needs
again
to,
once they see the Kinleo 1 time.
you know,
The
need to
third and
think
final
they want
card
to
that will
give
be
you that
limited to
one
one
of.
copy for this list is Moralith. Now, in our last ban list, we made a limit to Rise from the Ashes, which was designed as a way to reduce the power level of Blitztrix.
See,
And then
this is
Josh
the
went
third
and won
time
a
I'm
tournament
recording
with
this video,
Blitztrix, and we were like, oh
and
wait,
this
that's a
still
thing. And
continues
his
to
combination of
befuddle
utilizing
me
Mountains of Boreas
because
alongside Brumalinks to
I
increase the
still
power
don't
level of his
understand
Cedar
this.
Swords and his Moraliths became incredibly
It's a
overwhelming
deck
for
that
other
I never
players.
got to
Moralith is a
face.
very unique card in
I
the
got to play
context of
against
the other Lith
Blitzstrix,
Elestrals
but
because
I
its
never
condition
fully
to be
played against
cast
just like
is not
Moralith
necessarily a
beatdown
comeback
with
mechanic.
the
It can be
Brumaling stuff.
generated very advantageously by simply playing pieces like Morfrost Lycan form to be able
But
to
I
load up your
guess the
Underworld
more
and
I've
then
watched this
resolve Moralith's
video,
casting condition.
the more I guess I
Self-mill is a strategy that
understand
has a good amount of support
how
coming
this
in
deck
upcoming
works.
sets, and I think that if Moralith stays at 3
because it
copies,
doesn't.
it would become way too overwhelming for players to deal with. I also think the Frost element has a couple really cool strategies that can be explored and will continue to be highlighted in upcoming sets, and by giving a little bit more room to breathe for those other Elestrals and cards, we should see more diverse strategies coming out of the Frost element. I think all
I think it's like the really big thing. I'm trying also not to make my commentary all that crazy long, but I think just in general, I never understood what Morlith wanted to do, and because of that, The only time I ever really played Morlith was in my Blistrix smokescreen for my Glacier Turbo deck, and it was honestly the least impactful card of that smokescreen. I never wanted to play it. The two times I saw it were the two times I bricked and lost using the smokescreen. Like it was actually the reason I lost. Uh and overall I think just it never felt like a good card to run. But I guess just in general, when you're building a deck around Morlith as a strategy, I guess it's better. Uh, and I guess I've also been told about it, but I never really gave it any credence. Um, but I think I always look at more cool and uh, unique strategies. And yeah, that's a unique strategy, but I want like flashy or creative strategies that you know want to feel like you're playing something that like a main character would play, not so much that. But I guess just I always also overlook Moralith because it's a Frostfall card I never actually owned until like 2 months ago. So
These changes will be a very positive change to the metagame,
I
allowing
think
players to
for
explore new
the
options
limits
and
we're
remove
getting,
some
I
of the
think
more
those are good
powerful
limits.
cards and
I
limit them
think I
so
think
that their
it's good
frequency
for
is
what we're
simply
getting.
reduced. I think specifically with the launch of Clash as well, this should give a better new player experience for anyone trying Elestrals for the first time. I mentioned in the introduction of this video that Like a Void, Champion of Artemis, was going to be banned and sent to Tartarus, and that is indeed true. We are indeed banning Like a Void, Champion of Artemis. This was a card that we tested
This
extensively and looked at various
this
combinations on how
needed
to
to happen.
solve the splashability of the Like a
This
Void
had to
package
happen.
and the overwhelming nature of swarming the field with multiple
So
Werepup
thankful.
without much interaction from your opponent. The 6/5 stat line proves to be very challenging for players to deal with, and it's all the Werepups that hit the field that can turbo into various ascensions. They become very overwhelming, where if the first person to establish their Like a Void ultimately will generally win the Clash, and that creates
Yep.
an unfun
I've
game
lost
experience
many
for many
games to
players,
it.
especially new players who
It's
are
not
entering the
fun.
game. We looked at opportunities like limiting Werepup to one copy, or even banning Full Moon, but ultimately the decision to ban Like a Void, Champion of Artemis.
So in my last recording of this, I went into a little rant. I will go into a little rant of my own here too. I'm very happy they didn't do this for the one fact and the one fact only that if they did, they would be no better than Konami. For the sole reason that Konami does this thing where they they hit everything around the problem except the problem. I've seen it happen so many times in Yu-Gi-Oh! Where Konami will release something, and the thing they release is definitely an issue, but the thing they release makes the money. So instead of hitting the thing that's making them money, they'll hit like two or three other things around it that did nothing, or that are key parts of other strategies that just so happen to fall and you know, hit into this strategy. And by doing so, should in theory make it weaker, but, then it makes every other deck that it's the card that you did hit actually worse. But you did nothing to the deck that you're trying to do. The whole issue is you hit the thing that's not the issue. And I'm very happy that they didn't do that here. Because legitimately, Werepup did nothing wrong. Werepup's whole job is on cast, search for a lunar phase. You can use that in its own strategy to bring out Like a Void, either one, doesn't matter, or you can use it to search out any of the other lunar phases. I personally have been trying to test out a lunar phase deck with Volclips for a while now. And I'm not gonna lie, I did have to essentially put in this Like a Void because let's be real, if you're not, you're not really doing it right. But the thing is like Full Moon is necessary because it's Volclips, and then the other thing is, hey, we were considering banning Full Moon, you kill Volcalypse. Like, you literally kill an entire deck if you ban Full Moon. So, like, right there, you're either thinking of limiting one card that can essentially kill off this strategy, because now you're forcing players to play the Dense Fog version, but at the cost of, well, the other Like a Void did nothing wrong. Everyone's already learned how to play around it. Or you consider banning Full Moon, a card that Volclips needs to legitimately play, in which case it physically cannot play, meaning it would have been a dead card. So right there, just the talks of those cards even being on the table meant there's an issue. So there's like my little rant, and it's a lot less than what my last recording of this video was, because legitimately I think I'm I'm not happy to hear that there was even consideration that the cards that aren't an issue were actually considered to get hit, where the thing that is an issue needs to get hit. All because, oh, it's part of the brand new set. But this is a little bit spoilering what is part of the the solution, because again, I've seen this video now 3 times, but I do need to at least get that off my chest right now, because it's just it's so vitally important that, you know, that they did target the Like a Void and say, no, this is the thing that we need to address, not the other cards. So,
is a unique one because we have a very different solution for how we're handling this card than really
and
any
I
other
think the
card that we've
solution is a better
approached in the
solution.
past. Now, Elestrals has done functional erratas in the past, and we've also done Escape from Tartarus versions of Elestrals to kind of reimagine some of our favorite Elestrals. However, in this case, we are going to be using an errata for Like a Void Champion of Artemis to tweak its effects slightly to bring it more in line with the competitive metagame and the desires of our players. Like a Void Champion of Artemis will be on the ban list from July 29th until Lifestream releases. However, it will come off the ban list when Lifestream releases with a brand new errata text that will be featured in the Artemis starter deck, as well as a new printing in Shattered Stars.
I like
This
that.
errata text is going to simply change the condition where Like a Void can cast any number of werepups to now say that Like a Void can only cast werepups up to the number of suppressed cards on an opponent's field. I'm actually a really big fan of this.
I like this change. So, one of the things that always gets me is whenever I would want to suggest to people playing, you know, like, hey, I really want to play the Champion of Artemis Werepup. And they're like, well, why would you ever want to do that? Regular Werepup's better. Okay, regular Werepup's better, but like, it gives you another option. Like, you can play 6 Werepup. You have 3 Werepup that can search you Full Moon, or 3 Werepup that essentially says, if you have Dense Fog, you know, yeah, you're now needing to have 3 cards that are not searchable or searchable off of another card, but like, still, like, if you can get 2 cards on your opponent's field that are suppressed, new Werepup just says, hey, here's a Like a Void. Like, either way, you now have 6 Werepups, and you can utilize both effects if you build the deck around that effect. And I every time I always want to, you know, suggest it, I'm always met with the same snarky comment of, old Werepup's better. New Werepup's garbage. Hey, guess what? New Werepup's built for a specific reason. New Werepup's built for a specific reason. And this makes me feel like it's meant for that specific reason. Because now it's more vindicated on, hey, guess what? Now you have a reason to play New Werepup because it's built for a specific deck. It's built for a specific deck, and this Lycovoid is built for that specific deck. That specific Werepup and that specific Lycovoid. That's it. Nothing more. I like the idea that you can go in between the two of titled and not titled, but the fact still remains is that, every time I suggested that why not try and, you build your deck around both, or even consider putting in another Werepup with potentially like another, you know, means of suppression so that you can get the other Werepups effect just in case, so you can actually go into this Lycovoid, so you have multiple ways to actually get to this Lycovoid. I'm always met with the same snarky result, snarky, uh, like comments. And it always feels upsetting to me because it's like, really? Like, the whole idea of it is the deck build around it. Yes, it might not be optimal, but like, it's meant for a specific reason. You know? It's not saying that one's better than the other. Of course one's better than the other, but it's like just because old Werepup is better than new Werepup doesn't mean that, you know, you have to completely disregard the new Werepup. It's just the new Werepup has a specific use case. And I get it. That's the whole point. It's not fully fleshed out yet, but at least now going into, you know, the new, the new stuff with live stream, you have this Lycovoid that kind of wants to flesh out this play style of, this like archetypal play style that Artemis kind of now wants to try and play around instead of just, random whatever. You now have what they're trying to build Artemis around. So I'm sorry for my little rant. I just I always get heated around certain things like this, always, because I always feel disregarded because I'm not a competitive player, so I feel like my opinions on certain things always get tossed to the side or, you know, disregarded, and I'm like, I know what I'm talking about. You know, I'm a deck builder, but it never feels good to always get disregarded like that. So I'm just now getting to see this in the ban list and seeing that, hey, this is, here's what the intended reason for this is. Like, now it makes me feel a little bit better.
Because I think it brings it more in line with what Werepup Champion of Artemis is trying to do and what Artemis as a strategy as a whole is trying to do, and this will allow players to continue to explore splashing Moonrise Lycovoid into their decks while also allowing suppression control based decks to still use the power of Lycovoid, but more so focus within that archetype. Players will still be able to use their Firestorm or Stellar Rare Tournament Pack Lycovoids, but they'll need to refer to the updated errata text when competing. I'm really excited to hear your
Which is
feedback
mainly
to this
what
approach,
errata
so please
cards
let me
are.
know your thoughts in the comment section below. As I said, we have done erratas for cards in the past that did slightly change their functional effects. This is probably the most extreme case of this, and I wanted to try it out because, again, we were introducing the card again through Livestream Starter Decks, and it was a key card there. It's also being introduced in Shattered Stars with a very, very cool artwork that I want you guys to be able to enjoy. But ultimately, this is a great card that has a lot of space in the game. I think it's just came a little too early in the metagame, and it ultimately created some bad taste in people's mouths with it being overwhelming to play against.
So I'm going to say this. This card did not come too early in the metagame. This card was not finished. This card should have had that text from the beginning. It should have had this errata text from the beginning. Never should anyone say that this card should have had its original text coming into the game, because I wholeheartedly believe that that card is completely unfair, completely unfun, not, it's unhealthy. It's completely, it was not good to just sit there and say, well, great, I lost the die roll, and now get to watch my opponent put a 3 spirit like a void and 2, because no one dare play the new werepup, 2 old werepups on the board. And they have back row. Like, that always feels good. So that old ability should never have existed. And if anyone says otherwise, I will wholeheartedly disagree with them. I will gladly debate them on this. But this new ability should have been here from the beginning. I I believe it should have from the beginning.
Switching it to the suppression focused strategy, it's more in line of what the effect probably should have been from the get-go, and this is a great learning experience for us, so I encourage you to leave your feedback on this approach for erratas in the future. We're going to continue to explore the escape from
I
terrorist
also do
cards, and I'm
believe
looking
that
forward to
erratas in
hearing how
card
you
games
feel about us doing this errata approach for very minor changes to card effects
wonderful.
in the future. That concludes our ban and limited list for the upcoming format. There was a ton of cards that we tested and looked at, but ultimately decided to keep the changes to just these. I want to mention, I know there's been some discussions around the counter rune suite and the limiting of some of the power counter runes like Gorgon's Gaze, Shield of Achilles, Poison Tipped Arrow, and a few others. My goal is to continue to introduce more elemental specific runes, especially counter runes, that allow more interesting play patterns and create more dynamic gameplay strategies, as opposed to cards that are splashable into every single deck. This is something that's going to take a little bit of time, and you'll continue to see it built off of and developed in Livestream and future sets. Once those sets come out and we've introduced more options for players, especially elemental specific options, then we can take a look at limiting some of these powerful counter runes to increase diversity among the metagame. It's worth noting that anytime you utilize a structure deck or starter deck, as long as it is unchanged, you can use it legally, even if it has banned or limited cards in it. Our team is going to continue testing various scenarios and monitoring the competitive metagame and the health of the game, both with the launch of Elestrals Clash and the upcoming Premier events, to ultimately make Elestrals the best card game we possibly can. Don't forget, Elestrals Clash launch.
Okay, so the rest of the video, I will say, is just don't forget Elestrals Clash comes early access the end of the month. We have the, you know, we as a community have this Gleam thing, and the August 2nd premiere, like, same thing as the end of every video. So, I really do like this. Um, I think those 4 are very impactful. I think in general, um, you have Hurricane. I think it's the least impactful of the 4. Just actually no, I think Morlith. I think is the least impactful of the 4, just because Blistrix is such a hit or miss deck that either if you're trying to hit Morlith for Blistrix, uh, it's Blistrix. You're either gonna see Blistrix work or you're not gonna see Blistrix work. And if you're gonna optimize Blistrix to work, good on you. Like, you went to the casino and you learned how to rig the slot machine. Um, I think Morlith in its own deck as its own strategy is actually pretty interesting. I'd never considered it as its own deck, and legitimately, I think it. Looking back, I think it is something that I probably could have considered, but not anything I probably would have actually wanted to play, just because I don't think I would have wanted to consider it. Um, but I think that is like the least impactful of the 4. Then Hurricane, just because I think if decks are playing Hurricane, they were either playing it at 1 and then 1 in the side deck, so they just lose the side deck option, or they were playing 2, so they just lose a consistency piece in the main deck. Um, Otherwise, they weren't playing it at all. Next, I think Kindleo is very specific for fire decks. If you were playing Kindleo, you were playing Kindleo. If you weren't playing Kindleo, I don't know what kind of fire deck you are. I'm pretty sure even I was trying to fit Kindleo in like a very pure Fire Bears deck. And then last but not least, I think just uh the hit of Like a Void is something that the meta needed to see to actually feel like it, you know, it needed it. A breath of fresh air, some form of levity. Um, Nothing felt right in this world. I saw fire artifacts running like a void because, you have the 5 slots for it, so why not? Everything else is free. It's an engine. Yeah, well, if it's an engine, it's an engine. But yeah, that's the thing. I don't like that that's the mentality of it. So because that's the mentality of it, it just doesn't feel good. Um, so I'm happy that it's gone. I'm happy that it's getting fixed. And I think going forward, um, just as a way to kind of use erratas, I think erratas are a wonderful thing that a game should use. Um, Another piece of like another thing I did not like about Grand Archive was the fact that they never actually used erratas. They never errated any cards. So I think just erratas are a wonderful thing, a wonderful tool that like games can use in general to fix cards just minorly. Like don't use an errata to completely change a card effect. Like at that point, make a new card. But in the terms of this, like to fix a card in a minor way to just alter its effect just slightly, you know, use an errata. I think it's worth it because it allows you to re-release it in, as what Dan said, uh, in the upcoming Artemis structure deck that we're going to be getting for Livestream, as well as the Shattered Stars, whenever we're going to get Shattered Stars with the new Like Void. So let me know. And ironically enough, this went longer than the other two because yay, I somehow just keep making it longer and longer. But let me know down in the comments what you guys think. Uh, Sorry that this kept going longer and longer, but um, you know, let me know if you guys want me to cover the leaks that happened over at Cards HQ, and let me know down in the comments what your guys' favorite part about this ban list was. And I'll see you guys in the next one.